Okay, my friends, welcome to another sikha of the Lubavitch Rebbe on the portion of Vayikra. This is a beautiful teaching of the Rebbe, where the Rebbe talks about when humility isn't healthy and when pride is perfect. So the Rebbe says we can learn from this week's Parsha when humility isn't so healthy and when humility is very healthy, and when pride is a healthy thing. Sometimes pride is a positive thing. Most of us think that pride is ego, and basically not have any pride. But there's always everything in the world that's positive and negative, and there's always a positive thing even in the concept of pride. And there's also a negative concept in the aspect of humility. Not all humility. The expression in the Gemara, there can be a humility not in the right place. Suddenly a person becomes humble when he's needed, and he becomes humble. Suddenly he's not there because he doesn't want to do it, because of his humility. So everything has its place, and everything has its time, and there's a time for humility, there's a time for pride. The Rebbe is going to bring it out, this beautiful teaching of this week's parsha, and it's based on the beginning of the parsha. So I hope you got the book. I know we send out a bunch of books. I have some books in the Chabad, so if you need a book, I have like 3-4 books. So if you need a book, you can pick it up in the Chabad, or you can call the office, and we can order it for you and deliver it to your house. But let me share with you the beginning of the parsha. I'm going to show you a picture of the Torah, and that is the beginning of the way it's written in the Torah. The first text, number 1, that you have in your book. Text number 1, the portion of Vayikra. I think actually the class is in the previous book. I think. Text number 1, page 161. Vayikra El Moshe. The verse says Vayikra El Moshe, the first verse, and that's why it's called the book of Vayikra. Vayikra El Moshe Vayidaber Hashem Elov Moed Moed Lemer. And he called to Moshe, and he spoke to him from the tent of meeting, Lemer, saying. If you look at the way the picture in front of you is the way it's written in the Torah itself, the way it's written in the scroll. You see that the letter Aleph in the word Vayikra is a small Aleph. That's the way the Torah is written, a small Aleph. In the Torah, we have sometimes big letters and small letters. There'll be a small, most times is the letter, we have certain letters in certain words that we make it bigger. Very few times it's smaller. So Vayikra over here in the beginning of the Torah is a small Aleph. Vav Yud Kuf Resh, and there is the letter Aleph. It's a small letter. So the question is asked, why is the Torah written in that way? Why is the Torah written with a small Aleph? What's the reasoning? Rashi says, Vayikra means he called, and that's a lashon of chiba. That's a lashon of endearment. That before God spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu, he would call him. He wouldn't just chance upon him. Vayikra, he announced his coming. He called him. That's what the teachers of the Gemara says in general, that before you come to somebody, you tell him you're coming. That is decency. That a person should get ready. Shouldn't just chance upon knocking, walk into the house. That's why in Jewish law, you have to knock on the door before. Even a husband or a wife, before they come into the house, they should knock on the door. so that the person on the other side of the door, has a moment to realize somebody's coming in. Her husband's coming in, or his wife is coming in. So he has that moment to prepare to be in the right situation, so that they don't surprise each other, unless you're trying to make a surprise birthday party. But if you're not for that, Vayikra, you should call. So Rashi says, why does it say the small aleph by Moshe Rabbeinu? To show a lashon, a aspect of endearment. So the question is asked, so why is it a small aleph? Why wasn't it a big aleph? Vayikra, and he called him. Why did, if you take away the aleph, it's Vayaker, and he chanced upon him. So why did he, if it shows a concept of endearment, why would he make the aleph small? Should have made the aleph big. So in text number 2, we have the answer to this question. Text number 2, Rav Avram Saba says, perhaps the reason for the small aleph is in line with what I wrote previously, namely that out of his great humility, Moshe Rabbeinu, here Moshe Rabbeinu was writing the Torah, and God told him to write over here the word Vayikra, that I called you. Moshe Rabbeinu, out of his humility, didn't want to write that God, so to say, is calling him. Didn't want to write that word. God is calling him like he's such a special person, and God needs to make an appointment and call him up and tell him to come. That's it's too much ego for Moshe Rabbeinu. Moses distanced himself from any sort of prestige. He fled from the stage so much that God had to call out to him. Moshe Rabbeinu showed humility. Thus, the aleph of the word Vayikra is called a small aleph. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu, when he wrote the letter Vayikra, in the first Sefer Torah written in the desert, thousands of years ago, he made it a small aleph. Where do we see Moshe Rabbeinu, his humility? Where do we see that Moshe Rabbeinu had the aspect of humility? We know the pasuk, the Torah itself says it in text number 3. And now behold, the cry of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression that the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now come, I will send you to Pharaoh, and take my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh? Who am I? I'm nobody. I'm a nobody. Imagine God comes to Moshe Rabbeinu and asks Moshe Rabbeinu to go for a mission. And Moshe Rabbeinu's response is, who am I? I'm nobody. Why you pick me? Pick somebody else. Actually, he said, pick Aaron. Ultimately, he says, pick Aaron. Take Aaron. Why are you taking me? And I should take the children out of Egypt. I'm going to be the one. So Moshe Rabbeinu had unbelievable humility. Now we know that the Torah says it openly in the book of Deuteronomy that Moses was the most humblest Jew that ever lived. That was one of the qualities of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he was extremely, extremely humble. You can imagine such an unbelievable leader and such unbelievable humility at the same time. But then we have a big aleph. We have a big aleph. I don't have the actual wording in this is in Divrei Hayom in Tanakh, in Chronicles. Over there, it says that the history of man was Adam, Shes, and Enosh. Adam was the first man. He had a son Shes. He had a son Enosh. So if you look in Chronicles, chapter 1, verse number 1, you'll see over there that the letter Aleph is big. The big letter Aleph. Adam, man, first man, big Aleph. Okay, so we have the humility of Moshe Rabbeinu, and you have Adam seemingly a big Aleph. So there's a small Aleph and a big Aleph. So now we come to a story about this big Aleph and small Aleph. We come to a story of the Alter Rebbe, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, and his grandson, the Tzemach Tzedek, who was the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, ultimately the third Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe, the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, Shnei Zalman of Ladi, he had a daughter whose name was Devorah Leah, and she passed away in a young age, and he brought up his grandchild, the Tzemach Tzedek. And the Tzemach Tzedek, ultimately his grandchild, became the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, third Rebbe. So this is a story in text number 5, which the Rebbe brings down the story of his father-in-law, who tells the story. The previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak of Schneerson, once described at Pesach Farbrengen, how the Alter Rebbe brought his grandson, the Tzemach Tzedek, to school. When the latter was a small boy, the Tzemach Tzedek was a young child. As I said, the Alter Rebbe took care of his grandson, brought up his grandson. The Alter Rebbe instructed the teacher to begin studying the book of Vayikra. He told him that, you know what, when you're going to go, I'm going to bring my grandson to the school, I want you to start learning him this portion, Vayikra. And that's what we were taught until today. I remember when I was a kid, the first thing I learned was Vayikra. I learned the first couple of verses of the book of Vayikra. And the expression is because let the pure come and learn about the pure. Vayikra is a book about Levium, the service in the temple. So it's about purity, how to become pure, how to get out of sin, how to connect to God. So let the pure children come and learn about purity, how to become pure. After his first lesson with the teacher, the young boy asked his grandfather, why is the letter Aleph and the word Vayikra small? So he asked his grandfather, why is the letter Aleph small? The Alter Rebbe entered into a spiritual trance for a short while, and he said, and this is what the Alter Rebbe said to his grandson, young child, 5, 6 years old. He said to him, Adam was God's literal handwork. Adam, he first started talking to him about Adam. Adam was created by God himself. God formed Adam out of the earth. It's in Hebrew, the Gemara says, Yitzir kapav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He was the artwork of the Eibush himself. Everything, all humanity that comes afterwards comes from him. But who created him was the Eibush. So the verse says that God himself came down to the, so to say, to the world. He's in the world. And he took the earth, formed the diagram of a man, like you see on a crime scene, with earth, and he created man. And God testified that Adam is wiser than the angels. Adam was aware of his own worth, and that eventually got to him. Adam knew who he was. Adam became a little bit egotistical. It got to him. His pride got to him, ultimately leading to his downfall with the sin of the tree of knowledge. So Adam had a big Aleph. Adam was a big Aleph. Big Aleph. He made himself big. And because Adam knew who he was, and he became a big knacker, and he, it says in the first day of creation, Adam named all the animals. He knew traveled the whole world. It's a whole beautiful madrashim, beautiful commentary on Adam, what he did in the first day of creation. So Adam understood who he was, and he And that's why it says a big Aleph. Moses, our teacher, he too was aware of his own worth. Not only did it not go to his head, the very opposite happened. It caused him to be extremely broken and humble, as he thought that if another Jew, not Amram's son, and the seventh seed for the Abraham, would have possessed a soul as lofty as his, and a pedigree like this, that person would have certainly outdone him. Moses said, Moses knew who he was. Moses knew his capabilities, but he said that everything is a gift from heaven. So God gave me a soul. God put me into a certain family. So I became a big knacken, not because I have any talents. If it would have been somebody else, he would have done a better job. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu says, why me? Send Aaron, my brother. He comes from the same family. He's better than me. So why, and he's older than me. Why would you pick me? God gave the letters on Mount Sinai. They came in three sizes: small, medium, and large. The Torah was written in a medium-sized letter, conveying the message that a person ought to be a Beinoni. A person ought to be a middle-sized man. Be in the middle. So it says in the Pirkei Avos, and that's like our fathers, a person should always go in the middle path. Don't be too extreme to the right. Don't be too to the left. In Tanya, you learn you cannot be a tzaddik. You can't be righteous. You surely shouldn't be wicked. But be in the middle, a Beinoni, a middle man. That's what Alter Rebbe demanded on people, to be a Beinoni, to be a middle man. He wrote a book on Tanya, the book of the middle man, where Adam stumbled into sin by dint of a successive sense of self-worth. The Aleph of the name appears a larger typeset, where in contrast Moses achieved the greatest level of humility by focusing on his unworthiness. So the Aleph is associated with small. So everybody else, the Aleph is in the middle. Moses, the Aleph is small. Adam, the Aleph is big. This is what the Alter Rebbe explains to this small child, his grandson. Why the Aleph by Moshe is small and why the Aleph by Adam is big. Now the question is asked. The Rebbe asked the question on this story. Because by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, everything that happened to tzaddikim, by him, was a lesson. It's a story, a nice story between the Alter Rebbe and the Tzemach Tzedek. Nice story happened. No, by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, every story, if you go to his gatherings, he would tell a story. He would be interpret every concept of the story, because since it happened to great people, everything that happened was for a reason. So the Rebbe asked a question on the story. Doesn't understand. His grandson never asked him about Adam Arishan. His grandson didn't mention to him about Adam. His grandson asked him a question on the week's portion. Why does the Aleph say small by Moshe? So where does the Alter Rebbe roll in about Adam Arishan? Nobody asked him the question. So he's not answering a question of his grandson. So why would the Alter Rebbe start with Adam Arishan? Number two, why would the Alter Rebbe talk negative about Adam Arishan? What does he have against Adam Arishan? Why would he talk negative about Adam Arishan? So therefore, the Rebbe says that he believes the Alter Rebbe was not answering his grandson's question. The Alter Rebbe was not answering his grandson's question, because as you'll see in a moment, the Alter Rebbe talks very highly about Adam Arishan many times, about the greatness of Adam Arishan. The Alter Rebbe is not answering his grandson's question. The Alter Rebbe is giving his grandson a lesson. What is Rishon? I don't know. I don't know. So the Alter Rebbe is not giving his grandson, is not answering his question. The Alter Rebbe is giving his grandson a lesson. He wants to tell his grandson how to live life, how to be humble, and how to be proud. That was the Alter Rebbe, that's what he was teaching him with this analogy. Adam Harishon, the first man. Adam Harishon, the first man, the first man. He's called, that's what he's called. Adam Harishon, the first man. So, so why would the Alter Rebbe? The Alter Rebbe lessons doesn't even want to put down Adam Harishon, the first man. The Alter Rebbe wants to tell you the positive of Adam Harishon, that there's something to learn from him, even though we need to really learn from Moshe Rabbeinu, who's humble. So that's what the Rebbe is gonna go to it. Let's go to text number 6. Text number 6. So look at the Rabbi Yitzchak ben Yehuda Levi says there's a small aleph in the word Vayikra to teach us that though God personally called him and offered him all the honors to constantly speak with him, Moses nevertheless was always humble before God and the Jewish people. The aleph of Adam's name is big to teach us that there's no greater person, either in the physical sense, for he was exceedingly tall, or in the sense of his superior wisdom, which he demonstrated when he gave names of all the animals. So actually, praises Adam. The big aleph teaches us the praise of Adam, of Adam. First of all, his posture was very tall. The argument was he 100 amas or 500 amas. Even if he was 100 amas, that's 180 feet tall. If he was 500 amas, we're talking about over 900 feet tall. Man was big, and if he was big, Chava was big too. So these were big people, tall people, physically tall people. Even 100 amas, 180 feet tall, that's a giant. And he was also a giant in wisdom. As the Medrash says, that Adam gave the names of all the animals. Not only those are the names that he gave, but those are the names of the animals that we stay till today. So a shor is an ox. Shor. That's the name that Adam gave an ox. Shor. Chamor. Adam called a donkey a chamor. And so on and so forth. Because Adam, the Kabbalah says, is because Adam knew the DNA, which is the makeup of the Hebrew letters that created this animal. Adam knew not only so that's why it says, in English, a cow. Why is he called a cow? There's no reason why he's called a cow. Why is a horse called a horse? Why did you just flip it over? Why don't you call a cow a horse, and why don't you call a horse a cow? That's the name. There's no spiritual concept behind it. But why is a cow called shor? Is because it's made of 3 letters in Hebrew: Shin, Vav, Resh. And those are Torah letters. That's the DNA of the cow. Shin, Vav, Resh. That's what it's called Lashon HaKodesh, because it's living letters. Nachamor, a donkey, is Ches, Mem, Vav, Resh. So it's made up of these 4 letters. The same thing what's mentioned. It says when your parents name you your Hebrew name, that comes with Ruach HaKodesh. That comes with divine inspiration. If you name your child the Hebrew name, my parents' name is Shneur Zalman, that was given to them by Ruach HaKodesh. In spiritual, it came to them through divine inspiration. That my soul is connected to these 2 names, Shneur Zalman. It's the makeup of my neshama, and that's why when somebody, God forbid, gets sick, we make a mishabeda, we want to use the Hebrew name and the mother's Hebrew name. Because when God forbid somebody's sick, God forbid, we want to try to rectify the spiritual part of him. Hopefully make a mishabed of him, ask God to rectify the spiritual, and this is his name spiritually, and that will rectify his physical situation, hopefully. So the Hebrew is not the simple. That's why you should know your Hebrew name. It's important you know your Hebrew name, because when your parents gave you that name on the whatever when you were born, or by your bris if you're a man, boy. So that name was given to them by divine inspiration. They might think they gave it because of a grandfather, a grandmother, whatever, but really it's divine. The Gemara says it's divine inspiration that they gave, that you were given this Hebrew name. And it's symbolic to Adam on his first day of creation, that he gave each and every thing its name. And he also named the first human being. He named his wife Chava. He gave her the name Chava. So Adam really didn't have a name. Adam is humanity. Doesn't say God named him Adam. We call him Adam because of the Torah. He's called Adam. But Adam means humanity. So we don't really know Adam's name. We know his wife's name, Chava. Chava, because he named her Chava. Because Chava means life. And she was the life of humanity. So Chava is the makeup of the concept of life. So when Adam names in Kabbalah, when Adam names his wife Chava, in a way he names all women that will come from Chava, from that time to the end of times, that they would all be blessed to be fruitful, to have children. So Chava is really the name of every woman, because every woman has that DNA of Chava, and every man has other. The Alter Rebbe himself, in text number 7, says, in Chronicles, Adam's name is written with a large aleph as a reference to Adam's stature prior to the sin with the tree of knowledge. At that point, it was extremely a lofty level. And that's why it's a big aleph. So here the Alter Rebbe himself praises Adam, the first man, Adam Rishon, the first man. And he says the reason why it's a big aleph because he's a great man. So the Rebbe says it cannot be in the story that the Alter Rebbe wants to talk derogatory from Adam. And the Rebbe feels that the Alter Rebbe actually wants to tell his son, his grandson, Tzemach Tzedek, wants to tell his grandson, you know what? Adam sinned, but there's something positive in his pride. And look in text number 8. Text number 8 is a statement of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Rebbe brings this down. Everyone should learn how to utilize their own positive qualities. The Eibishter, God, gave everybody positive qualities. He gave us all talents that each and every one of us possesses. Those talents, you cannot be, you're not somebody else, and somebody else cannot be you. There's something that within every person that God gave a talent that he needs to use out for the purpose of the world, that nobody else can do it. Nobody else has that capability. And if you're going to be humble and not use out your talent, that's not a good idea. You need to be proud of your talents. You need to be proud of your capabilities. Not because It's you who got it. It's I who got that capability because God gave it to you. It's a God-given talent. Whether you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a rabbi, you're a nurse, you're an accountant, whatever it might be. Everybody has within him something that he is good at. That's what the Gemara says in general. A person should work at something that he enjoys, that he's good at. The God-given talent. It's like the muscle that's given, the analogy that's given of the diamond cutter who says, you know what? I think baking bread is more important. He goes to break the bread. And that's a waste of a talent. You're right, bread is important. But he's a talented diamond cutter. Somebody else needs to break the bread. Don't become humble and say, "Oh, I'm such a, I'm this great diamond cutter. Why should I do that? I'm going to go break simple bread." No, that's humility in the wrong place. You need to have pride in what you do. Don't become egotistical, but you need to have pride in what you do and do it with pride and make sure that you use out your talent to the best of your capabilities. So the Free Kedeb says, just as one ought to know or his own shortcomings, so too should he and she know the positive qualities they possess. Free Kedeb says everybody needs to be proud of who he is. I'm talking about Jews, Judaism. He needs to be proud of his talents. Everything gave him, God gave him certain talents. He should not hide from them. Then you can go into your spiritual sense. You want to go into the spiritual sense of what a Jew is spiritually? That's even greater. Forget about that he can be a doctor or a lawyer. That he's a Jew. Now he has an unbelievable gift. Every Jew has an unbelievable gift. The Rebbe says in text number 9. Mitzad de'ilu. Every Jew possesses tremendous worth. And as such, any Jew can readily see his or her self-worth. After all, a devoted Jew's true value flows from a holy and godly source. And as such, there's no concern that such thoughts of self-worth would ever lead to negative consequences, because it's coming from the holy side. The Rebbe would never want to hear what people say, I'm a bad Jew. There's no such thing as a bad Jew. Every Jew is a beautiful Jew. Might have bad actions. Doesn't make him a bad Jew. When a person says, I'm a bad Jew, he's basically, that's his Yetzer Hara. So now he has an excuse not to do what is right. So now he has lack of self-worth. And now when you have lack of self-worth, okay, what do you want? I'm a bad Jew. So what are you asking me to do something good? I'm a bad Jew. There's no such thing as a bad Jew. There was once a rabbi who came to Lubavitcher Rebbe and told him, I started off a special minyan for Jews who have no background. The Rebbe, before this rabbi can continue, he said, I never met a Jew that has no background. There's no such thing as a Jew that doesn't have a background. I never met a Jew without a background. How is it possible to be Jewish, not have a background? You're a Ben Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. Every Jew is a son of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, the Rebbe said. You don't have a background? You have an unbelievable background. How is it possible to say on a Jew that doesn't have a background? It's impossible. So the Rebbe told him right away, you can say, I made a shul for Jews who we need to teach them how to daven, how to learn. I don't have a background. Don't you think? Don't you think? Every Jew has an unbelievable background. What is more, the Rebbe says, a person must have the sense of self-worth. This is so important because today we struggle with self-worth. Today, especially as we talk to people and people are so confused and so scared and so unsure of what's happening around them, that they have a lack of self-worth. They feel they don't have control. They feel that the only thing that self-worth is what they have in control. That is the thing what makes them worth. That either the knackers or the big lawyers or that makes them who they are. No. That you're a Jew, you have unbelievable self-worth. You should have unbelievable self-worth. A person must have the sense of self-worth, so much so that at times it is the only way to overcome challenges of mundane and material reality around us. This is so important today, that we chas v'sholom don't lose our self-worth. We, God forbid, don't lose our self-worth. It doesn't make a difference of what's happening around us. We are who we are, irrelevant to what's happening around us. We are a Ben Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov. We're a son of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We have an neshama. We have a godly soul. How much worth is that? What's the value in that? When a Jew approaches his or her life with a proud and strong stance that flows from the wholeness akin to a tzaddik, all challenges. When you, in essence, the Rebbe says, when you come to a challenge, the biggest challenge is not the challenge, it's a challenge within you. It's a challenge within us. We are a bigger challenge to ourselves than the challenge itself. So we make a mountain out of a molehill, so to say, as the expression goes. So we take a challenge and we make this humongous challenge. Why? Not because it's a humongous challenge, because we have lack of self-worth. We don't have pride in who we are. We don't have pride in our capabilities. We don't have pride in our beings. We don't have pride in our heritage. We don't have pride and faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we think that it's basic, totally in our control. Don't do that. That's what the Rebbe said. The Alter Rebbe turns to his young child and he says, listen, my friend, my dear friend, have pride. That's why he starts off with Adam Arishan. He starts off with Adam Arishan. Adam Arishan had pride. You knew who he was? He had pride. But there's always a but. Don't use your pride for negative. Use your pride for positive. So learn from Adam Arishan. Learn from the first man who was a big Aleph because he had pride. He knew who he was. But let not your pride take it to the negative. So how do we make sure our pride doesn't go to the negative? So that's why we learn it from Moshe Rabbeinu. Our pride doesn't go for the negative if we are proud of who we come from. Not who we are, but where we come from. What made us who we are, and that's God. That should be our pride. If we would have pride, not because I think I'm a very special person because who I am, or what I have accomplished. No, because I was given a certain greatness by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I was given a certain talent by God himself. And everything came from him. And that's something to be proud of. It's a very difficult thing today. Try especially with youth today to give them, you matter. That to give the youth today that they matter. that it's important that they matter. Every person matters. Every human being matters. You're important. We need you. God himself needs you. The Rebbe said once, if you're in this world, you say that in the morning, Maidani. You say, I thank God for giving me my neshama back. That God has unbelievable trust, that he has unbelievable faith in me. God has more faith in me than I have faith in myself. Your trust and your faith is so vast and so great. So God has trust in me. Why would God trust me? Because God knows He created me. And He knows that I'm capable of overcoming this situation. I'm capable not only of overcoming, I don't want you to be a survivor. I want you to thrive. I want you to be a victorious. That's what the Rebbe says in text number 10. While in a state of holy pride, and being cognizant of one's own self-worth, we must be vigilant that our personal ego never gets involved. Not only must we be aware of our own shortcomings, we must go to the opposite extreme, a radical sense of humility and selflessness. It's important because it's important that we don't get egotistical. We don't become ego, because ego is the worst thing. My friends, we're going into the holiday of Pesach, which we eat matzah for 8 days, which one of the biggest lessons of matzah is the eradication of evil. Chametz is ego, and matzah is the opposite of ego, unleavened bread. You eat matzah, it's unleavened bread, nothing in it, water and flour, tastes like whatever, tastes delicious because it's a mitzvah. It costs you a lot of money, so it's really a big mitzvah. And it's just a total concept of selfless. You see the greatness of Am Yisrael, that they're willing to pay such amounts of money for cardboard bread for the mitzvah. And we were doing it for the mitzvah. Also teaches us humility in itself, the aspect of humility. I always read the portions of Vayikra. I always say in the chitas of this week's portions, you're going to see many times in Vayikra and so too in the portions, upcoming portions, that it says, Reach nechayach l'Hashem. It was a very pleasing odor to God. Pashit, it's like it almost sounds like the pasuk, the verse says that the Eibishter loves, lamb chops, smelling, cooked lamb chops. He loves the smell of steaks on the fire. It's a pleasing odor. The Gemara says we know the oil says it was a burnt offering was a pleasing odor, and they put on there the skins and everything, and that was not so pleasing. Normal situation, not pleasing. It was not as good smell. But the smell of the feathers of the bird was not a good smell. So what does it mean? It's a pleasing odor. So Rashi right away says, what is the meaning of the pleasing odor? It's so pleasing to me, God says, that I asked you to do something and you did it. Not because you're big knowledge into it, not because you comprehend totally what is the purpose of it. You did it because I asked you to do it. And that's the real purpose of it. The real purpose of it is I asked you to do it. So the Eibishter comes to Am Yisrael and tells the Jewish people, I don't want you to eat chametz for 8 days. 7 days. We had a day, another day, 8 days. I don't want you to eat chametz for 8 days. And Jews don't eat chametz for 8 days. They say about Ditchever, about Baditchev, once walked out into on Pesach by night, And he's walking in his down the street, and he stopped a Jew, and he asked him if he has any chametz. So the Jew said, Rebbe, it's Pesach. Are you serious? He said it's Pesach. I'm sorry. He said it's Pesach, Rebbe. Are you nuts? How can I have chametz? It's Pesach. Tonight is Pesach. So the agent said, I'll give you $50. Give you $50. Get me a piece of chametz. So Rebbe, you crazy? I'll give you $100. I'll give you $1,000. Give you $1,000. Get me a piece of chametz. The guy says, Rebbe, have a good day. You must have drank too much cups of wine. Go home, sleep it over. It says the Baditcheva looked up to heaven. He said, God in heaven, look at your nation. In the world, there's such a thing as a black market. You can buy everything everywhere for a couple of bucks. But look at that. You can't buy a piece of chametz on Pesach for as much as money as you want to give. A Jew is not going to sell you a piece of chametz. There's no money in the world that you can give a Jew to eat chametz on Pesach. Baruch Hashem. Why? Because that's what the Eibishter wanted. That's the beauty. That's what God wanted. And Yidden are humbled by that. Jews are humbled by it, and they accept upon it. And they do it, Baruch Hashem. Whether they comprehend or they don't comprehend, etc., etc. So we need to have, so that's the point. You have to have pride. We are Am Chacham and Nava. We pride ourselves in our wisdom and our understanding, our great knowledge. But look at that. When it comes to such a thing, we don't need chametz. Does it make sense? Every year, not to eat chametz. 7, 8 days, not to eat chametz, because that's what God wants. So, as the verse says, the Rebbe brings down the statement of the Talmud, text number 11. And you, my sheep, the sheep of my pasture, are Adam. You are Adam. You, the Jewish people, are called Adam. What does that mean? So the Alter Rebbe in chapter page and text number 12 says the meaning of this. Every soul that has ever lived on the earth was once part of Adam Harishan. Here you see the word Harishan, first man. Generally speaking, Adam's soul splintered into 613 strains. But more specifically, it split into innumerable sparks, which are the souls of every Jew from the beginning of time until the end of time. Phase. And that's one of the reasons why you'll see in the portion of Vayikra, it mentions many times in the sacrifices, it uses 3 different terminologies. Adam, like in the first Adam ki yakriv mikem, the beginning of the book of Vayikra, it uses ish, it uses the word nefesh. Nefesh ki sechta. Adam, ish, or nefesh. You'll see these 3 expressions of humanity. But mostly Adam. Adam. Even though Adam was the first man of humankind, every human being comes out of Adam. But there's something in the lesson to the aspect of a Jew in his relationship with God that Adam has a very special connection. And that's why Adam is mentioned throughout Vayikra. Adam, God wanted that relationship with Adam and Isha before the sin. God wanted that relationship with Adam and Chava that they would have with him, this holy and this oneness that would be forever, and they would live in Gan Eden. That was the whole thing. And then they sinned. And now we are trying to rectify till today the sin of Adam. Even though the whole humanity comes from Adam, but the Jewish people have a mission to rectify Adam Harishan's sin, his first sin, the first sin, because there's a connection, there's a deeper connection between Adam Rishon, first man, and every single Jew. So every Jew, the Alter Rebbe says in text number 13, and this concludes the class, every Jewish soul possesses a dimension of Moshe, for he was of the seven shepherds, one of the seven shepherds, who transmitted godly energy to the umbrella of the Jewish people, which is the very reason they are called shepherds. Moses was the ultimate shepherd, called the faithful shepherd, Raya Mehemna, in the Zohar. So it's interesting that Rebbe says, Adam, we all have, in essence, two qualities, the quality of Adam and the quality of Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's why you have the two Aleph, because both of these Alephs are both connected to every person. We have Adam, the big Aleph, that we should have pride. But then we have Moshe Rabbeinu, who is a teacher. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu was given Moses the teacher, because Moses teaches us how to have pride. Moses teaches us that we have pride. Why? Because we have faith. We have pride because we have faith. We don't have pride because we are special within ourselves. We have pride because we have faith that all our qualities and all our capabilities come from God. That's why we have pride. So ultimately, you need to have Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, to teach us Adam. Adam is what we have, God's gift. God gave us gifts. He gave us a soul, which is a gift. He gave us talents, which is a gift. And then God gave us Moshe Rabbeinu, which teaches each and every one of us how to use that gift. How to use the gift. Because if you don't have Moshe Rabbeinu, if you don't have faith, then you'll be like Adam. You'll use that gift for sin, God forbid. You'll use the power. You'll use the talent. You'll use it for egotistical reasons. So therefore, the way the Alter Rebbe, I want to veer off a little bit. Therefore, with the Alter Rebbe, is not mentioned in this class, in this sikha, but therefore the Alter Rebbe learns the whole concept of sacrifice. It says, Adam ki Yaakov mikem. That's what the verse says in the beginning of Leviticus. Adam ki Yaakov mikem. If a man from you will bring a sacrifice. If you know Hebrew right, it should have said, Adam mikem ki Yaakov. It should have said, Adam mikem, a man from you, ki Yaakov will bring a sacrifice. It doesn't say it that way. It says, Adam ki Yaakov mikem. If a man will sacrifice from you, that doesn't make sense. It says, a man from you will sacrifice. Not a man will sacrifice from you. So the mikem is in the wrong place. The Alter Rebbe says the mikem is in the right place. Because the pasuk wants to teach us what is a sacrifice. Sacrifice comes from you. If you think that by bringing an animal, you get away with it, you make a mistake. A Jew has to look that when he brings the animal, really he should be there, but God, in his ultimate of kindness, said, instead of you giving an animal, but really you have to look as if I am going to be the sacrifice, because I deserve to do this. So that's why the Alter Rebbe says, the verse right away says, Adam ki Yaakov mikem, that a person has to feel that he's bringing a sacrifice, it's from you. That's humility. That's the concept of humility. You have to know who you are, know you're positive, and therefore bring a sacrifice of thanksgiving, bring an oil of sacrifice, Know your negatives. Therefore, there's sin sacrifices. But ultimately, do it all out of humility. Do it all because you're giving from yourself. Because really, everything was given to you from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everything was given to you from God. So that teaches us how we should have pride and when we should have humility. And that's the sikha of the Lubavitch Rebbe on this week's Parsha, Parsha Vayikra. And anybody have a question? I'll ask you if anybody has a question. I'm willing to answer your questions. But if I was totally understood so well that no questions are needed, I mean, it's amazing. But I hope you enjoyed this teaching. We're actually having a very special speaker tomorrow. Tomorrow we're having a speaker here at 7:30. Rochelle. Well, me and my names. I'm terrible. Let me get it over here. We're having 3 ways to end power struggles with your children. I'm coming to this one. I got 4 children. I need 4 ways. And that's going to be with called Coach Red. Coach Red. And everybody is invited, my friend. Rochelle Strauss. And she's going to speak to us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. So you don't want to miss this. This is a great, I mean, you don't know Rochelle. She's a great person. So I hope to see you all tomorrow night at 7 p.m. 3 ways to end your power struggle with your children. And the 4th way, how to end the power struggle with yourself. And I wish you a wonderful and beautiful night. God bless you all. We'll see you in Mid Shem tomorrow night. See you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Chitas. I wish you all. Also, concerning the matzah, the Seder plate, please. I'm asking everybody to please book it. We're almost sold out. So it's if you are interested in getting this, getting a Seder plate, please tell us. If you need matzah, please tell us. If you can't afford the Seder plate, the price that says there, please tell us. Don't worry. No Jew will be left behind. Have a beautiful, wonderful night. God bless you all. See you soon.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're
Rabbi,
welcome.
are we having a class next week?
Most probably not.
I was waiting for that.
I don't want to say, I hate to say I'm not giving a class, but if you don't get an email saying that there's a class, then most probably not. It depends what's happening. It's right before Pesach. I'm afraid it's going to be Abyssal Mashigi. But we're having actually, I'm sorry, I take it back. We are having a program next week. I'm sorry, March 23rd. Is that Tuesday night?
Yes.
We're having a program. We are having it. I think it's March 23rd. Am I correct? Is that Tuesday night? I believe so. We're having a very special Yud Aleph Nissen program next Tuesday night. Right. So yes, next Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, we are having a Yud Aleph Nissen program. Fly free. Explore personal freedom. So we are having a program next Tuesday night. It's going to be at 8 o'clock with Rabbi Taub, Rabbi Raskin, Rabbi Weinstein, and there should be a little picture over there, Rabbi Booker too. I'll be there. So next Tuesday night at 8 p.m., we're going to be having an unbelievable program in honor of the Lubavitch Rebbe's birthday, who was born on the 11th day of Nisan. So
Rabbi, are you going to record that? Because I can't be here.
Well, it's going to be on Facebook, so it's
okay.
Automatically. It's going to be on Torah Direct, so it's going to be automatically recorded.
So Torah Direct is where? YouTube or Facebook? Where?
On YouTube or Torah Direct on Facebook. It's either way.
Okay.
Torah Direct, like this class will soon be on Torah Direct and on YouTube. This whole class.
Okay.
Okay, and then next Tuesday night's class will end up being there before Passover.